Hi beautiful creatures, and welcome back. I thought I would make a really quick video today touching on some things that I want to talk about in November. I also have a little bit of a tarot review for you. I'm right in the crux of my end of year stuff. I actually have a special preview opening night type thing happening tonight, which I have to get ready for. So I thought I would take advantage of a little extra time that I have and do this video for you guys. So on my last video I talked about how I wanted to read Big Magic, and a couple of you have reached out to me on Instagram and on YouTube, Someone's Princess and also Larissa from Storytelling Tea and Tarot mentioned that they would really be interested in doing a book club for this book. So Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I said that it would be amazing to do it in November, and kind of everyone was really happy with that. So I'm gonna introduce a book club for Big Magic starting from the 1st of November. And what I want to do is every week we'll read a new chapter. So the chapters here are divided by sections or parts. And I just had a quick flick through, and the first chapter is something like 29 pages long, which I'm sure everyone will be fine with reading within a week. And that way we can all get through the book together. So part 1 is Courage. So starting the 1st of November, for anyone who wants to participate in this book club and hasn't read Big Magic and wants to, I'm going to suggest that you read with me, and we'll do the first chapter together. And then however which way you want to reflect on it, whether it's through Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and you want to make a video with your reflections and your thoughts, or you want to make a post on Instagram with a picture or something like that, then that's sort of the way that you can join the book club. And we'll have that as like a forum of discussion, and you can sort of reflect on what that chapter has meant to you, any important or interesting notes you found from it. Even if you didn't like it, you can mention that too. I just think it would be a really fun thing for us all to get into. If you're interested in joining me on that, then please feel free. Maybe leave a comment down below this video or on my Instagram, which is the Green Pixie, so that I can know that you're joining us in the book club. So that was kind of the first thing that I wanted to get out of the way. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that. The other thing is that I've been continuing reading this Maiden Mother Crone book by DJ Conway. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the Divine Feminine and ways that it's kind of manifested itself, or ways that I'm starting to notice really how the Divine Feminine and the goddess in her triple aspect has really played a part in my life, in my spiritual practice. So reading this book, DJ Conway goes through the myths associated with each phase of the goddess and how these are actually often interlinked. And I read something yesterday which was quite beautiful. I like the way that she's written the book. Sometimes it's a bit short and sharp. Her sentences are very short and the myths are very condensed. And sometimes I think that maybe she's gotten a few of the myths mixed up, as it is with history, so I don't really blame her. But I really like how she mentions briefly ways that you can work with the goddess. And I'm only up to, there we go, chapter 86. I'm only touching on the crone aspect of the goddess now. And after this, I think she goes into meditations that you can do to go deep into the labyrinth within yourself and discover how these aspects of the goddess can guide you, which is something I find really interesting. So I'll just give you an example of how she writes. So she starts by introducing each aspect of the goddess and briefly mentions how they've played a part throughout history, and then she goes into the myths of each goddess. And this aligns with how I've always really felt connected to goddess energy, and how I've always felt connected to the triple goddess especially, and how this sort of correlates to phases of the moon. So I'm just trying to find the part that really affected me when I was reading about the crone, and I'll read it to you guys so you can kind of see what I'm getting at. Sorry. So, okay, here we go. So the crone aspect of the goddess goes far beyond the recycling process. So before this, she talks about how the crone is death, but also rebirth, all in one, within one aspect, which is kind of like a recycling. She says, the Dark Mother is the ultimate teacher of the very deepest of spiritual mysteries. She teaches the wonders and possible dangers of trance. Her mysteries include the contacting of spirits. It is through her that we learn prophecy, seeing clearly backward and forward through time. The crone is the keeper of the Akashic records, the detail of all our past lives. If we do not acknowledge the crone, how can we remember ourselves? Through the Dark Mother and the records of our past lives, we learn the necessity of focusing our energy into important things, such as spiritual growth, living our lives the best we can, and seeking the goddess within. Energy can be translated as strong impulses. Jung said that physical and psychic energy may well be aspects of the same thing, and we should learn to take care how we use both. So she goes on to talk about what the crone aspect is good for, what it kind of releases, what's the relationship with the crone, how this was seen as negative for a lot of times, words associated with the crone like hag and stuff like that, and how these were turned negative through sort of history and all that sort of stuff. So I really have been loving that book, and I read it before I go to bed, and sometimes I have really interesting dreams, particularly around the full moon, and I get really in touch with that inner like search for the goddess, which has been quite beautiful. So that's sort of a way that I've been seeing the sacred feminine or the divine feminine. I've also been working with my goddesses and Sirens Oracle hand in hand with my gods and Titans Oracle, because they are just such a powerful deck when you combine them, or that's what I found anyway. And I have worked with it as I'm drawing a god and a goddess for my week, and those are god and goddesses that I'll keep in my mind throughout the week when I'm experiencing difficult times or struggling with something, or I'm not understanding something as well as I could, and I'll think, whose energy do I need at the moment, and then I'll think of who I have on my altar. At the moment it is Jizo, who is a Japanese or a Shinto, I think, god, who is all about nurturing and caring for yourself, which is something I've really needed this week. And I have Pomona, who is the goddess of plenty and the horn of plenty, and she is a very fruitful and abundant goddess. So I don't pre-pick these out, I shuffle and I pull a card, but it just so happens that they've been spot on for me every time I've done that. Like I said, I feel like the gods and goddesses in that deck very much communicate with me when I use those cards, which is awesome. So now I wanted to go through and show you guys a deck of cards that arrived for me last week, but I haven't really had a chance to go through them myself. And the wonderful and lovely Gaia actually put me onto these cards, and it took them about a month to arrive because I live in the bottom of the world, Australia, and it takes forever for things to get to me from America by mail, unless they're priority or express, which I don't want to pay, you know, hundreds of dollars for shipping, so it's usually not. So this is the beautiful, handcrafted Sacred Bridges Tarot by Rachel Paul from the Dark Carnival Tarot on Etsy. She also did Dark Carnival Tarot there too. But the artwork in this one, it's still all in order because I've only just gone through them very quickly because I didn't have time. And these are the backs. And it's all very hand-drawn, hand-cut, handmade, and it comes in this yellow pouch. And she also wrote a wonderful message for me on the little guidebook pamphlet, which is really beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna go through these cards with you guys. Gaia has a video on it on her channel, and it's excellent if you want to watch that. And thank you so much for introducing me to this deck, because the artwork in it just totally sucked me in. There is something really beautiful and chaotic, and I love the fact that they have no pupils. As soon as you said that, I was reminded of, sorry, I'm referring to Gaia's video now. I was reminded of the Tarot of the She and how they don't have any pupils or very little pupils and their eyes are blank. And for me, that is like such a cosmic thing. Like you can kind of see that, I don't know, they're out of the human realm, and I like that. So the Shaman of Staves. So she starts off with staves, which are wands, and then the major arcana are at the back. So there's no king, queen, page, knight type thing. It's apprentice, and then the other ones, which I can't remember. There's a shaman in there, which I like. So when I first looked at these cards, I was in a frame of mind where I didn't really focus on anything, and so looking at the chaotic imagery and the colors kind of threw me off, and I was like, oh shit, why did I do this? Why did I get this deck? But I do love the artwork, and I do love the chaos in it, and for me it feels very much a deck that I'll need to be using. Well, we're actually getting towards Beltane here, not Samhain. And Halloween is actually Beltane for us here in the Southern Hemisphere. So that is the fire festival and the festival of the sun and summer energies. And this deck feels a lot like that to me. And when I start the Big Magic Book Club, I'm going to start working with this deck as well. This to me also has a very modern feel to it, a very sort of new agey, contemporary vibe to it, which is nice because a lot of my decks kind of don't have that, or they're sort of old world. I checked her out and she totally has tentacles. How cool is that? She's like Ursula. Ursula of Wands. Very cool. Very cool. So I haven't even looked at these cards and this artwork properly yet, so this is kind of nice to go through these cards with you. And like I said, I love the colors, and the colorfulness of this deck was a huge attraction point for me. And then the fact that the artwork seems so creative and is a bit of a reimagining of the standard tarot. And now we're getting on to cups. So this is the Chief of Waters, which is the King of Waters. Waters, the King of Cups. The Shaman is the Queen. She's beautiful. She was one of the big draws for this. And also the fact that it's borderless, I love that. The Artisan of Waters, who is gorgeous and reminds me of me when I had pink hair. Apprentice of Waters. And I just love, yeah, I love that they have no pupils. I love that they're busy and chaotic and colourful and messy. And I love the imagery of the bridge within these cards as well. I feel like crossing bridges or burning bridges. Actually, that was funny. It's a bit of an oxymoron. But there's a saying that's been going around Tumblr and stuff like that, the social media that I follow, which is, may the bridges I burn light the way. Which, if you know both of those sayings, you'll know why it's an oxymoron. It's because you can't burn the bridge and cross it at the same time. But I kind of like that paradox. And that's something that I need to do. When I finish with my last year of uni, I'll be burning and crossing bridges at the same time, and I think this deck is going to be really, really helpful with that. Yeah, the energy in this is vibrant and lovely, and it feels very fire-based to me. It feels very energetic. I don't have any decks that have such vibrant and bright colors like this, you know, with the card image that takes up the entire card, which is beautiful. You know, and it just feels like a deck that is, oh, this is beautiful. Stakes is swords. Chief of Stakes. It's the King of Swords. Shaman of Stakes. I love that the queens are shamans, yes. That's another thing I'm looking to getting into. When I have a little less on my plate, it's a bit more shaman journeying, or shamanistic journeying, particularly into the fairy realm. I've done a little bit of it when I can, just through meditation and using my fairy tarot, actually, by Doreen Virtue. I also want to look into getting the Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud, or the Heart of Fairy, whichever one calls to me, but I think the fairies call to me a bit more, and journey with them, because they are very much how I see the fairies. one aspect or one race of the fairies. Three of Swords. This card has been coming up a lot for me. This card and the Queen of Swords whenever I've been doing draws for myself. And I think I know why that is. I think it's my mindset at the moment. It's very Queen of Swords. The situation I'm going through in my life has been really requiring a lot of logical thinking and practical thinking, putting things into plan and planning and organizing. And that's the sort of Queen of Swords energy that I've been experiencing a lot. Which makes sense, but it's very frustrating for me as an earth sign to be pulling so many air cards. I think Gaia was talking about this being a water sign. She associates a lot with earth signs. And I thought that was pretty funny because I've been, like, I did a reading for myself yesterday with the zombie tarot, and I got basically the entire court of Swords in my reading except for the page. And I was just like, what? King, Queen, and Knight of Swords came up for me in a reading, and I was just like, holy shit. And the Ten of Swords. Oh my god, these cards. Look at that. Speaking of the Ten of Swords. Wow. Turmoil. Turmoil endings and beginnings. So, I love these cards. I'm sorry. I just have to say, looking through them and talking to you guys with them, I feel like they have such a living, alive energy. And they make me want to go back to yoga. And also I've been looking into doing belly dance. I'm going to start doing that probably next year when I get back from my trip to Europe. I'm going to Europe at the end of this year and for a bit into January next year. And sort of the belly dance classes around where I live only start up again in February. So I'm definitely going to get into yoga before then. But I'm going to go and do belly dancing, which will be awesome. I've always wanted to learn how to belly dance, and I do love dancing. I did some cage dancing when I was younger. By younger, I mean I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but like 3 or 4 years ago. And I loved doing that. I loved doing that, so I love dance in any way, shape or form, particularly sensual dance, so that's my thing. Yeah, so that will be really cool. And yeah, these cards have that sacred dance element to them, in my opinion. I think it's because of the rhythm of the lines, like how it's drawn is very fluid. Yeah, the images in these cards seem to flow together. I think this deck would be really good for big readings as well. So I'm heading towards the end of the deck. I'll try, if I remember, to put the link down below. Actually, I will remember to put the link down below to this deck, so that if you love this imagery and you would like this deck, you can own it. So I didn't break my tarot ban of October, but as soon as November 1st hits, I'm going to pre-order the Akashic Star Child Tarot, because that one has been in my dreams, and a lot of things about the Akashic records have been coming up for me. And you know how I was interested in my past lives, and I've talked about my past life experience. I've had to put all that in the back burner while I get all my shit done. Okay, here we go. This is now... I just showed you one of the major arcana I didn't realize because I was talking too much. So this is the Fool, and this reminds me of a bit more of her artwork from the Dark Carnival Tarot, which is apparently inspired by Insane Clown Posse's, like, their fans, who are called Juggalos and Juggettes, I think they're called, and she did a whole deck inspired by that, which is great. I have no idea what the subculture is around it, but it looks very dark and kind of interesting, and a bit Dark Carnival. I guess that's why her Etsy's called Dark Carnival. So the Magician is the Buddha. I feel like when I go back to yoga and I learn a bit more about the spiritual practice of it, because I'm quite a polytheistic person, and I do like to like learn about all different cultural, historical gods and goddesses, even if I don't apply them or they don't call to me within my spiritual practice. I really like opening my mind to all of them, and one of the goddesses that I like from the sort of Buddhist, no, it's not Buddhist, It's Hindu, I think. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher this. Anyway, Kali. Indian? What is it? Is it Hindu? I don't know. I'm sorry. But Kali, her energy is awesome. And also, Shiva. Shiva energy is awesome. And those two stand out for me. So I really like knowing about that. And I like how you apply certain spiritual things and chanting in yoga too. Which I did when I went to yoga classes a while ago, but then I get very focused on one thing, and as I get very focused on one thing, particularly towards the end of this year, other things in my life tend to drop away, and I'm very one-track minded. Ah, she's lovely. She's the Empress. Reiki love. Reiki and love. My god, she's beautiful. I love her. I love her. I love her eyeshadow and her just chilled out vibe and her awesome femme colors and stuff. She's so cool. The Mason as the Emperor, good, because I have issues with the Emperor in most depictions and most cards. He seems like a real, like, douchebag to me. Just a real standoffish energy about the Emperor in most cards. And this guy is very open. This energy is really open. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit because I feel like I haven't communicated with you guys through video in a long time, and I just want to say everything at once. The Guru? That's so cool. Who would this be? I don't know. I can't be bothered to look it up. The Lovers. That's beautiful. The Warrior Woman for the Chariot. I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Belly dance. Sacred belly dance. Yay! Strength. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yes and yes 1,000 times. The Hermit is burning the bridges to light the way. Literally, that's cool. May the bridges I burn light the way, she says. And I don't care if it's an oxymoron. The Dharma Wheel. That's beautiful as imagery. Rather than the Wheel of Fortune always makes me think of a shitty game show. This is quite nice. It's a bit more spiritual. Matt, yes, 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 Matt as Justice. I associate the tarot card Justice with Matt, or Maat, anyway, because she is one of the spirit guides that has called to me, and one of the other Egyptian goddesses that I work with is Isis and Hathor. And Maat, she is the principle of justice within ancient Egypt, but she is also a goddess who weighed the hearts of the dead against the feather of Maat. And she represents truth and balance, and divine balance and justice, and balance is something that I need more of in my life all the time. I always need to keep balance in the back of my mind because, like I said, I do get a very one-track mind with things. If there's something that I like and I follow it and I pursue it, then I often drop everything to do that. And Maat has been a really massive divine feminine guiding like source for remembering balance. And I love how she is depicted here. There's no whitewashing, which is awesome, because there's nothing that fucking shits me more than when they whitewash the entire like Egyptian or any other culture's pantheon of gods. Recently, Storytelling Tea and Tarot brought to mind the Mermaid Oracle and showed me the Yamaya card, and Yamaya is a African goddess, and she's white in that card, and I never oh, yes, Kali, death. Shit, that is fucking intense. That is intense. I love that. See, there's light and darkness and chaos and magic in this deck, I think. The angel, she would be judgment. Oh no, she would be temperance. Temperance. Devil is hectic. I get some hoodoo voodoo vibes from this, as the same as I do with strength, which is awesome. The fallen tree as a tower, I love that. This is a fiery, earthy deck for me. This is a shaman, the spiritual fire deck. Sorry, again I'm rambling. The moon, the subconscious. This is a bit like a Jungian or Jung or whatever, however you want to pronounce his name, archetype of the subconscious. There's a lot going on in there. And it almost looks a little sinister too, a little mysterious. The daughter as the sun. I love that because sunflowers are my favorite flower. Ooh, awakening. That's awesome. That's judgment. Would it be judgment? I feel like it is. Again, like I said, the sacred dance vibe with these cards is coming up. And then Gaia. Gaia for the world. And to me, she looks like a happy frog. I don't know. She looks like a happy earth mother embracing the world. There's like a huge vibe of unconditional love in this card. So that was the Sacred Bridges Tarot by Rachel Paul from Dark Carnival Tarot on Etsy. And like I said, these are the backs again, and there's a lotus flower there with some symbology and an eye. And I love the vibe of these cards actually, and they feel so right for Beltane and coming into summer. Sorry, my posture's been terrible because I've been hunched over these cards getting really excited. So just to recap on what I said earlier in this video, I'll be starting the Big Magic Creative Living Beyond Fear book club from the 1st of November. So I'll give you guys a week, and I'll give myself a week to read the first chapter, or the first part, which is Courage. And then when I make the video, that will sort of kick off the first week, and I really look forward to seeing who wants to participate and kind of what your experiences will be, and we can all sort of go through it together and discuss, you know, how we've been impacted or not impacted by the book, and any thoughts or any interesting topics that come up. So I'll sort of make a video, I'll set up a question maybe, if I can think of one, regarding that chapter to try and get the ball rolling with discussion, and then I'll sort of aim to do that every week throughout the chapters. So I'll just look now. So there are 5 parts, because this book isn't very long. It's 270, including acknowledgements, it's 276 pages. So if there's 5 parts, then I assume it'll take us about 5 weeks to read altogether. And I'll make a video every week about it, about each section, and talk about which chapter we'll do next, or if we'll do a whole chapter or a half chapter, and open it up and watch your videos and collaborate with you guys on Instagram, and we'll have a chat about what we think of Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. So let me know if you want to be a part of that in the comments down below. And I'd like to say hello and thank you to my new subscribers, and thanks for joining me on my channel. I've been a little absent lately, but hopefully, I was going to say absinthe. I've been a little absinthe lately. It goes with the whole La Fever thing, right? But I hope to be back regularly. At least you'll see me once a week for the Big Magic Book Club. So until the next time, I'll see you all later. Bye guys!